the ethos for this particular event or this weekly get-together is because I think it's not fair that individuals who do live on their own or live maybe with themselves in very small nuclear families, they don't get the variety of seeing other people. So what we'd like to do is just reach out within the Inspired tribe, and I'm really, really proud to see everybody here. Thank you very much for being here. Our vision this week is nothing more than, besides connecting and touching base, we're taking on some feedback from everybody. Last week was a tremendous, last Friday was really, really lovely. I think we had a great fun. I'm loving this idea. We're bringing a social week every weekend. Lots of people have been jumping in and out. We've had lots of conversations this week about how last week Friday was really helpful. Who would like to say something about what I'm interested in is what sort of real breakthroughs have you had this week that's really going to help everybody else? Not about business, please. Just about what's the breakthrough you've had. If it incorporates your business, so be it. Manjeet first, just put a hand up.
Manjeet.
I've moved to Uxbridge, where I live now, about coming up to 10 years at the end of this month. My wedding anniversary, when I moved here. And I moved here from Kingston. And I have been missing Kingston ever since. Because in Kingston, I live by the river. And I used to go for these long walks. But this past week or so, I haven't actually been missing Kingston. I've been missing the greenery, the water, and all those walks. And I didn't actually realise Stockley Park, which is a 5-minute walk from my house, is so big. There's so much greenery. There's so many different wildlife, and it's just amazing. And I've been going at 7:30 every morning. And even if it's raining, I don't care. I'm out there. And I absolutely love it. So it wasn't Kingston I was missing. It was being part of nature that I was missing. So that was my biggest breakthrough this week.
Well done.
Fabulous. That's
great.
Brilliant.
Biggest breakthrough that I had. You're saying not business. It's quite hard for me not to talk about breakthroughs for business. That's why.
It was Dad, wasn't it? What an amazing conversation of yesteryear and things that you reflected back on.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, obviously, I just was wary of that still being my business. So, he just, he was basically this morning. He was saying, if I just got an education. And my dad did his role of, I didn't have to work for the family and take care of them. Things would have been better. So we moved from thinking things would have been better to how it was perfect. And he had a real heart opening to his dad this morning. So that was really beautiful.
Lovely.
Oh, brilliant.
I felt of my Papaji this morning, for sure.
Oh, wow.
It's not like, I've been into health the last year since lockdown. But I did feel like I got a little extra milestone. So last week I was doing planks at 15 seconds and completely collapsing. Yeah. And I managed to do 45 seconds this week.
Oh, well done. Brilliant job.
So hopefully when I come back in 2 weeks, I'll be saying I'm doing a minute.
Wonderful. So Joe Meeks has now got a rival.
No, I don't.
So who's got something specific that we can all benefit from this week? I mean, I know Jatinder, I think we were talking a little about conspiracy, right? So you can fire up a little bit. I'm just going to go for a quick break. You lot carry on, start the conversation.
Yeah, so everything that's going on is very, very interesting, right? Like in anything in life, you always have two sides to it. You've got the kind of left, the right, the middle. And there's a whole bunch of things going on about what's actually going on at this moment in time. Is it definitely, a natural occurrence, or is it man-made, or is it 5G, or is it some big government conspiracy? And there's just so much noise and information out there that it's very interesting to see the different sides of what people are sharing and saying. Mm-hmm. So what we're basically deciding to do is we're going to have a special conspiracy call Zoom meeting. Right? And if you guys are interested in jumping on that and just having a conversation, sharing your thoughts, then do reach out. Let myself, Sukhi, Gary know, and we'll organize a time and meeting around that. But yeah, so that's just one of the things that we've been kind of conversing about and the different things that have been going on.
Bro, JT, can we bring Donald Trump on it?
Yeah, if he's available.
Well, he seems to be upsetting most people in the world at the moment. I just wondered if he could come and impart some important knowledge or something, or have a sensible conversation.
I think people just make up a lot of stuff about him, you know, right?
It's usually just taken out of context, isn't it? You don't listen to the
Usually.
whole thing. You take a little bit of it and you sensationalize it. Before you know it, it's gone worldwide. So
That's it. Because there's just a lot of noise, you know. And you have to get the facts about things. And you know, we can say facts are covered up. We can say, you know, there's all these other things, but we know that fake news exists. It's being created by different organizations with their own agendas. So we have to be very careful about what information we're taking on board and why, and not just take it at face value. That's like the darker side of social media.
Yeah.
I could put a quote together, put it online, and you guys could share it, and it might have been fake. Do you know what I mean? It's that easy to do something, and a lot of that goes on, unfortunately.
Well, I say, if anybody does want to come on a call like that with us, so then do let JT, myself, or Sukhi know, and then we'll put together a show and we'll just have a little chat about it and see what ideas we can put forward for rectifying the world. But what else have people been doing this week, or how have you been getting on with time and sort of, you know, Ian was saying earlier that he's finding the mixing of time both at home and, you know, in work, it sort of mingles. I mean, how are you all finding separating the time?
I mean, for me personally, what I've done is I follow Sukhi's DFT process, decide out of all the stuff that I could do, what do I really want to focus on?
Yeah.
I get up earlier now. As I said, I'm up at 6:30. I'm out the door at 7:30. Go for my walk and I'm back home. I don't actually start work until 10 o'clock. Then I'll work solidly for 2 hours, do what I need to do. I'll stop, have lunch, have a chat with my husband, with my mother-in-law, and then I'll start back up at 2 o'clock, and I'm usually done by 4 o'clock. So I've kind of broken it up that way as to what I want to do. And then luckily I'm able to move myself away from everybody else, because I've got, you know, we've got this room that I can actually use as my office. And I know not everybody has that luxury. You know, I'm very, very grateful that I have got this space just to disappear to, away from everybody. But it's funny because Mum pops her head round the door sometimes. I'm delivering training and she pops her head round and then she goes, and she'll say in Punjabi and she'll go, do you want a cup of tea? Or
yes,
when
please.
you finish, or she'll go, when you finish, I need help with this, that or the other, or have you heard from such and such a person? I say, Mum, I'm training. And she'll go, oh, sorry, and then she'll disappear.
It's funny, we were talking about last week. What happened last week? Mum came on the phone and said, I want to speak to everybody.
She did.
Yeah. But we had a meeting, didn't we, the other day, Sukhi, with someone, and he was saying that his mum tends to come into the kitchen and you see he's talking to clients and this little hand goes up behind him as she goes to the cupboards to get things out of the cupboard and then disappears out the kitchen again.
It's rather amazing how virtual it was, how we were already very virtual, but how we're going to be embracing it going forward as well, because life goes back. It's going to be really quite interesting, where there's nothing going to stop us having a social, even when social lockdown's out of the way, or maybe in a year's time, there's nothing stopping us from having a social breakdown as well.
Rather than saying social distancing, the right term would be physical distancing. We are still socializing. This is a great, way we are socializing. It's more physical distancing.
Yeah, so that's where the conspiracy would kick in, right?
You knew it was coming for it, didn't you?
It's an experiment. They're trying to actually get us to experiment and see if we can, social media. Now they're trying to do the opposite of that, right?
Oh, so that it can have a detrimental impact as well, because up until this weekend, I hadn't actually seen my parents since February the something, because they live in Birmingham, so I actually hadn't seen them. And as far as we were concerned, my dad had an old school Nokia phone. My brother went over there because we had internet put in for them, so that like my brothers can go and work from there, and that way they're not on their own. So one of my brothers went over there, then rang me, messaged me, says, Manj, can you try and call Dad on WhatsApp video call? I went, Dad doesn't have WhatsApp. He said, just do it.
Of course he does.
Did it, and I swear my dad was there on the screen in front of me, and I hadn't seen him since beginning of February. I cried like a baby.
Oh,
and my dad was like, wiping his tears, going, "Why are you crying?" Dad, I haven't seen you like since February, and it's not my choice that I can't see you. That choice has been taken away from me.
Cute.
So, you know, if I was like, I could probably go for 2-3 months without seeing him, then I go to Birmingham for 3-4 days, whatever. But now that the choice has been taken away from me, it's a lot difficult. It's a lot more harder to deal with that.
Yeah. I think that's the key thing that a lot of people have been saying, especially those that we've been talking to so many of you on private calls, etc. And a lot of you have said, "Do you know what? I love my privacy, but the fact that it's now been imposed on me seems to have changed the aspect, and it's now like a sentence." I mean, how do people feel about that?
I feel that definitely. I'm like used to working from home. I don't really find it an issue, but now that we say no, you got to stay at home kind of thing, it's like, no, I want to go out. But I'm okay. I'm all right.
You're coping with it.
Yeah.
Good.
There's a funny conversation here. Just to have a think about this, right? We're talking about liberty's been taken away from us, and there's lots of this going around, lots of 5G, lots of conspiracy, lots of discussions. And of course, this is a private Zoom, so I'm sure that we're not going to get taken off air. And a lot of people have been taking advantage of this as well in the social environment, social media, where they're trying specifically to, in essence, ride the storm. Even from individuals, I won't mention names, but people who are actually inviting the same people who are controversial individuals just to get more people on their channel, on YouTube, etc. And I think it's quite tasteless, to be honest. It's not very sensitive. So my personal opinion is I think about this, Ram. The word conspiracy, where did it come from? Let's hop back. 1971. Conspiracy was a norm within the CIA. So they first introduced this when JFK got killed. Who introduced it? CIA used it as the first terminology, the conspiracy of murder of Now, of JFK. The reality is that we all know JFK was killed internally, and the scenario here is that he was the one who was, his name leverage was used the word conspiracy. Now, it's supposed to be anybody who's conspiring against the state, the Guy Fawkes type thing. Everyone now is classified as a demeaned conspiracy. In my humble opinion, conspiracy is people who are willing to think outside the box, right? Just willing to give themselves an opportunity. Why can't we be creative? Yeah? It's that matrix moment, isn't it? Why is it? What's going on, DG? Hey, dude.
They can see you.
You see, I knew Andy would come in the perfect timing.
Let me just say that.
Sasigani, how you doing? Perfectly well, thank you very much.
Manjit, has Mum come to make a cup of tea for us?
They should make it and send it to you.
Oh, it's so lovely, isn't it? So lovely. God bless you. God bless you. And so the word conspiracy is used as a derogatory concept. For me personally, why not? Why don't we conspire to think outside the box between ourselves? Now, the second question is what if conspiracy itself was actually a tool by the controllers, should I say? And what if we reversed it and said conspiracy itself is the tool? What if they're inspiring these conspiracies themselves? Because
the conspiracy is the conspiracy.
Yeah, we all know that a single grain of sand entered into the shell of an oyster will rotate that oyster around in its own ruin to try and ensure that it gets all the sand out, and it ends up killing itself and turning itself into a pearl. So the principle here is that in order to control a mass of nearly 9 billion people on the planet, you've got to have these floating conspiracies, right? Otherwise, everybody will be all over the place. Now we find our own little our own little 30 people on a Zoom call, and we're all best mates, and we're talking about the conspiracy. Well, how will we do that if we don't have the conspiracies in the first place? Anyhow, little thought, just a little thought there.
So which one of us is the grain of sand then in the 9 billion?
What if we're all the grain of sand? Eh?
Well, they say we're only 1 or 2 steps away from everybody, so we must have got most of the population now.
Yeah. Well, there's a gentleman called Dr. Rashid Bhutta.
Yes.
I use him quite a lot. I've been following the guy for about 7-8 years now. How? Because about way back. I don't know whether you know a gentleman called Dominic Dock. He's a good friend and a client and a consultant of ours, right? Dr. Dock, he's called himself. So basically, he's an active member of my mentoring circle as well. And I mentored him way back in 2009, 10, 11, 12, actively. And now he grew and he's gone into different countries. So we're still assisting that. He basically introduced me to Bruce Lipton in those days. And Bruce Lipton's best friend is Butter. So Butter and him kind of came in as a part of the package. So just to give you an example, if you guys want to enjoy more conspiracy, we're going to have Jatinder himself come forward, put the information forward, text us, and we'll create a conspiracy call if you want, just to get everybody else to think about it. But Butter said something very simple, just to understand the principal controversy between 5G and the banning and 5G and what's going on right now. 5G itself is not causing corona. Corona is a real virus, right? But it's reducing our immune system, principally, which is not allowing us to fight back with the coronavirus. Does that make sense? So the whole principle, I mean, there's so many multifacets, isn't there? You guys okay for me carrying on talking? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so many multifacets for this. For example, you've got your mixture of, Buddha talks about 7 variables that he talks about, 7 areas. It's a world #1 bestseller in every single chart. So you might want to find Dr. Rashid Butter, Butter, find his information, and basically it's called the seven phases or 7 steps. I can't.
9.
So, sorry.
I think it's 9, isn't it?
Maybe 9 then. He talks about the 7 specifically. Maybe he's added 2 more. But when I first had it, was the 7 steps. So he spoke about lots of different areas, and the 6 areas have been activated. And the last area that wasn't activated, I mean, from memory, one of them could be your exercise. One is mindset. One is about your eating habits, you know, the information. The other was about external radiation. The 5th one, it's about your communication between human beings and how you see, you know, creating the internal conspiracy itself. But the 7th one that he talks about, the 7th heaven, the 7th unit, he talks about is spirituality. Now, if we do not have scenarios like this, where we're getting together, touching faces, seeing each other's faces, what happens is that we start to segregate ourselves and start losing energy, power between us all as well. And we can, in essence, break our own spirituality connection. So some of us, like Guy was talking about earlier on, and a number of the people, they're looking inwards more, which is absolutely wonderful. But the principal conversation we're having here is, how do we actually keep connected? Even after lockdown is over, we've still got social distancing as a challenge. When social distancing is over officially, we're still going to have our own personal subjective social distancing going on. I spoke at, where was it? Brunel University. Jatinder, you attended, and Gary, you came as well. So Brunel University before the lockdown, and some of the senior people there, I was judging one of their programs and speaking as well. But one of the senior people there was already exercising social distancing. No handshaking, you remember? No, I don't want to shake your hands. It was a lady over there, I won't mention the name, but she didn't want to, the principal, she didn't want to shake hands, and she said, I'll just say hello to you from a distance. But she's activating social distancing already. So you're still going to get the personal, subjective social distancing going on. This is not going to change for another year, guys, maybe even a year and a half. So we need to start to realize that adaptation is key. One of the ones, I think this Friday, no, I think next week's show on the Daily Tip Show, if anybody watches it, it's on my YouTube channel. We're talking about this current challenge of how to adapt in this current business model. You know, last week, the one that went live today was talking about the actions that every single one of us needs to look at about reduction of outgoings and increasing of incomes. The 2 things that we're talking about with Connect with HMRC, we all need to do it. So please do watch it. Do me a favor. Do watch it on YouTube, and please do comment on there, because it really helps getting the video ranked. It's not for me. I'm not going to interest myself in getting more money from it. Trust me, it's not happening. We're way away from that. But please join the vision, join the mission that we're going about. We're trying to just help people through this COVID period. Get people to get joined on, communicate with themselves, support each other. And next week's one, we're talking a little bit more about what's happening in the open market when it comes to business. We've got another project which we're talking about, where it's all about the 10 implementations of business and how to adapt. So some of the keynote, I think, Andre, you were there earlier on. I shared a little bit towards the end of the keynote at University of East London. And when we were talking about that one, we were talking about how people are going to actually adapt in this current world. It's here to stay. Please understand that social distancing personal social distance, it's going to stay. Certain industries are on the down, and they're going to take an awful long time to recover. The travel, tourism, hospitality is going to take a long time to get back. You know, in Marcus, for yourself, you know, communicating with, getting people in your network marketing environments, it's going to be so hard to get people in those sort of environments now. You have to, all of you, every one of you, please stretch yourselves, get involved in creating these kind of Zooms. I'm doing this only to help everybody, to say, let's do something together as a movement. Let's try and create that change together. So what I'm trying to get is that get involved, start doing Zoom calls, do as much as you possibly can, be active in this environment, and then start to invite people, use the applications. If you have never done a Zoom call and hosted it yourself, please stretch yourself this week, host a Zoom call. Call your friends. If I'm one of those people, invite me as well. I'll turn up and I'll support you. No worries. So my question to everybody is that, look, guys, what are we doing for our adaptation? How are we going to adapt? What's going to happen? The business has to be put onto a pause. We have to lose our ego. The ego there tells us our business is still going to be fine. It'll be the same as it was before, but it's not, I'm afraid. So just as a personal share and stretch, guys, put a pause on whatever business model you have, even if it was February the 26th when you wrote your new business plan. Put it away, look at yourself and ask yourself a deep question. What is it within lockdown that I'm actually enjoying? And then ask yourself the second question. What is it within lockdown and what I've enjoyed? How am I going to carry this forward into my next life, my current life after lockdown? Yeah. So just a couple of things just to stimulate yourself. What is it that I've enjoyed in lockdown? And how am I going to introduce that into my life thereafter? And there's the key things you want to push yourself to. One more thing I want to share before I'm going to let everybody else talk if you'd like. Of course, I appreciate and I thank very, very humbly that everybody comes here and you don't mind me talking and sharing my thoughts as well. Hopefully it's helpful at some stage. My thought to everybody is think about it this way around. Say, my previous business is principally gone. We have to be egoless to understand that the business has gone. We have to now morph ourselves forward. So the question is, what part of me is reluctant to start a new business? Why don't we all just become a new startup together? Does that make sense? You just start to educate ourselves and push, support each other. You've seen there's some people here from last week who are regular, and hopefully the people who have joined us this week will join us again next week. But you know, we're going to be here to support each other. This is a non-cost event, and this isn't one of the things that we're trying to create something every single week so we can get more people on board to our businesses and stuff like that. Everybody knows how I work. I don't have any funneling systems at all. Anybody wants to work with me, I leave it to the divine and we connect. So my principal question to yourself is, what is it that I like in lockdown? And then how will I introduce that into my life going forward? And then finally, if I can put pause on my current business, what assets have I got right now? What skills do I have right now that I've already used? What facilities, what tools, what systems do I have in place? What is I know I've got nearly 100 people who sell online in my group of mentees. And as they're selling online, where they were selling things like wax candles and bits and bobs, which were very, very lucrative, you know, bath bombs and stuff of that sort of nature, which they were doing. Guess what they're doing now? They're selling masks. They're communicating. If you want to get in touch with somebody who can give you independently, customized masks, that's a way forward. You know, cloth. I've got somebody, anybody who knows Debbie here, reach out to Debbie from Stitchery. She's now starting to print material masks. So you just basically tell her what you want, send her the image. Obviously it's their business, so they'll charge you, stimulate their business. I said, hey, Debbie, you haven't got the t-shirt business anymore. You haven't got those stuff. You haven't got the Stitchery. Let's start doing something different. So go out and get your own logos. I applaud all of you, every one of you who's got a business logo of some kind, get it to her and say, Debbie, can you give me a 50 masks or 20 masks with my Synergize on it, with my business name on it, or even your own personal name. I'm not contemplating right now just to turn around and put it down and say Inspired Tribe, or Think Outside the Box. And I had another one which I thought was, if you can read this, you're too close. Something cool thing, Let's just try something different. Let's be funny about it,
We could have one that says back off.
Yeah?
You could have one that says back off.
That's right. If you read this, go away or step, whatever. But these sort of things are working, by the way. That idea I gave to somebody, and guess what? They're printing them. They're going through a design process right now. If you can read this, you're too close, step back.
Yeah.
You know, and just little things like that, quite funny. But guess what? It's here to stay. You know, I think last week, just to let you know, and I share this as friends, not as a pompous conversation. Please understand. I think last week we've moved nearly 20,000 PPE items. I've connected people with people who have bought the stock in from Chechnya. If you want to talk to me about this another time, people who have bought stock in from Turkey. There's been a very large shipment into the country from Turkey, and we've all got access to things like you know, antibacterial masks, gloves, PPE equipment, you know, very expensive high-end stuff that's all available. So I've been filtering it through all of my cousins, brothers, everybody, and they're all getting the stock and they're moving it out. You know, things that were impossible to get only 2 weeks, a month ago, have landed in the country. They're here. So little things like this. Look for the new norm.
Do you mean you can get toilet rolls in, Sukhi?
Well, do you know what the problem is with that, Gary? Is that toilet rolls are produced in England. We don't need any more. All the suppliers have just increased their prices, and they're being quite funny about it because they don't need to increase the prices. There's no more increase in demand currently right now.
No, I know.
So they've all
properly stacked at the moment.
Increased, yeah. And another thing, actually, one of the cool things that I'll share with you that I think I've shared it with a number of people, but there's a phase. You know, we all understand that there's an energetic flow. I'll be talking about this next week on the daily tipstone in more depth. But there's a flow in the whole of the lockdown. Everybody know that? I shared it, I think, last week, by sharing it again for the new faces, that there is a dominant energy to start off with. It goes into a compliant energy. It goes then into an influencer energy, and it ends up in a stable or stability energy. It's the reality. We're currently in the influencer energy area where we're going to start to become frivolous again. We're going to start to spend money. We're going to start to do silly things. So the first 3 to 5 weeks of our business life, I'm going to give you some stats. I think I've just looked across my, while you were talking about this, I was looking at my screen. In the last week, 10 days, we've had a 50% increase in our requests from online stay. So people are starting to connect back up with social media, housing again, and going back into serviced accommodation. So once upon a time, you know, just last week to this week, Ahmed, I think he's left. Are you there? Ahmed, he's not there. So just last week, Ahmed was talking about...
yeah, I'm still there.
Oh, yeah. So Ahmed was talking about how hotels are going to be the last ones. Sadly, hotels will be the last ones to get the uplift back again in staying. I'm telling you now, serviced accommodation is going to shoot up. People have got accommodations who are maintaining it like social... like a hotel. I'm already starting to see increase in bookings again. It's awesome. And so how quickly, because I told you people are going frivolous again. Now people are starting to move to the city where possibly their parents are, just for a break from their home. Because you get into your own car, it's just your immediate family, your nucleus family, people you're living with. You travel to somebody's serviced accommodation, and you're not with anybody else. You can spend time and have a break there. Does that make sense? You can still do walks and talks. I've got. I don't talk about it much really, but I've got invested properties in Bath, and guess what? They're full. They're full. People are walking around in Bath again. They're going for walks. They're keeping social distance, but we're in a state where people right now, the phase and the energy of lockdown right now is people are thinking everything's fine again. Let's just get out. I went for a drive the other day to drop off cakes and stuff, right? Because of the Ranveer's birthday party. And we went around the street and went past what's known as a park, and it was full. I couldn't believe it. It was people everywhere. And I said to them, God, you're gonna start to lift the COVID back up again. Interesting times, anyway.
What did you see in Peterborough? There was an article, I think I mentioned this to you, an article that was in the Daily Mail or something, where they did a picture of Peterborough High Street, and it looked like a normal Saturday afternoon.
Unbelievable.
There's reports coming out about the difference in traffic from the previous week, Friday, to the Friday just gone. From the Friday before, and it's starting to spiral back up again. It's all starting to come. People are starting to leave the houses and go back to normal, what they class as normal. They're starting to leave. I've seen a lot more people at the shops than I did when we first went into lockdown. A lot more people.
And I'm going to say this honestly. I'm going to ask Shesni, if you don't mind, just giving a few words on this. Yeah, give us some view and give some thoughts on what the medical side of things are with COVID. What's happening? You know, what's going on? Because you are already, we're very, very lucky to have this group of people that we're all together. And Shesni talks about this regularly in radio and stuff like that. So please share, if you don't mind.
Yes, yeah, no, I thank you for that, Sukhi. I actually was listening with interest because the conspiracy theories. So if I talk about the two things, being a doctor and psychiatrist, I obviously have privy to have information from both worlds, and I've made it my own journey to find out the truth, because I do believe ultimately the truth will set us free. So having said that, in terms of the medical side of things and me being a doctor and psychiatrist and seeing with my own eyes people having COVID, testing positive, and hearing about it from my colleagues and other doctors worldwide, so not just here, because I support psychiatrists globally, because I teach them as well. So I'm privy to information to know that this is real. So the COVID-19 is a virus and it does affect people, and it affects specifically the respiratory system. But what I do know as well is there's conspiracy theories. And I do think that these theories have come from somewhere, as Sukhi was trying to explain. And I do believe there's truth in some of it. So I've also followed people like Rashid Buttar, David Icke, and a few other people, Dr. Shiva, and I've been following up on this. And I do believe that even though we're saying that 5G is not causing the coronavirus, because there is a virus, it's come from somewhere. So my medical knowledge says that there's something that's infecting people and that they're getting these symptoms, and some of them, at least 3.4% of them are dying because of it. And especially the ones with low immunity or ones that have the high risk group in terms of other physical underlying conditions. So having said that, we know as well 5G, we know that 5G was stopped in a few countries. And before the outset of the pandemic in January, we know that Trump didn't want the 5G to go ahead. And soon after that, we heard about the coronavirus in China that came from China. So it's interesting to know that I think the main 5G towers, I think they're saying, were in China, and that some places have rolled out 5G. And so I think Italy is one of those countries. And then it's interesting to know that Italy is one of the highest numbers of deaths we've seen. And their pandemic unfolded before our pandemic, and we saw a lot of people dying. So I think if you hear, what I'm trying to say is that, yes, there is a medical illness, there's a disease, something that's attacking the body, it's attacking the cells, and it's causing us to have difficulty in breathing and affects our lungs. But having said that, 5G can also cause symptoms like that. So how are these two related? How does it work? Is it a rollout of 5G that's actually causing these physical health problems as well? So that's where the link is missing.
Could I share some thoughts on it? Thank you very much for that, Seshni. Now, one of the things I'm going to share with everybody here, think about this, Varun. If everything, and Rav's been talking about this for quite some time, and I'll ask you to talk about it in a moment, where if your immune system is dropped, then it really allows you to be affected by any kind of medical scenario. So there's multifacets of what Buddha talks about specifically. I'll put their names in your downline. You can always watch the stuff and say stuff. The one which I find which is very, very viable on YouTube, because there's a lot of people out there just taking advantage of this, and value, I think it's called value. Tainment. Okay, so this gentleman is an ex-veteran. Have a look at his YouTube channel, Valuetainment. A little bit more valuable and viable. He's actually an ex-veteran, and he's become a reporting journalist and a forensic journalist. And he spends a lot of his time, and he's bringing lots of stronger individuals or conversation. And his way of talking is very relevant. It's not, you can tell clearly, he's not going to talk like certain individuals, like maybe, I'm not going to spout things like London Real and all, but you know, some people are using it as a leverage point to get more people to watch their YouTube channel. But Valuetainment is what it's called. Now, he's an Iranian guy himself, and he's obviously an American Iranian, and he's he served in the army as well. So when he spoke to Bhutta is also Dr. Bhutta, Rashid Bhutta. He's also an individual who spent a lot of his time in the wars. He's been, a veteran for many years. So the principal conversation is, I think Marcus is coming back in. The principal conversation here is, Bhutta says very simply, it's not about 5G causing it. That's what you were just saying there, Seshani. He is saying that 5G lowers and assists lowering the immune system. 400 and 415 megahertz is what's killing the immune system. And that is amongst the foods we're giving, amongst the external. I mean, he quoted something recently. There was a document that was produced very, very recently, actually, about cancer and the connection to selenium with cancer, or the reduction of cancer with selenium. Selenium is an amazing, a coenzyme.
Mineral.
Yeah, and I'm going to get whoever wants to speak about that. Yeah, you better get ready, Rab, so I'm going to get you to speak in a minute. And when you speak to that dot. So basically, we've got selenium, you've got coenzyme Q10, you've got so many of these beautiful things. And you also got Galvanji, which is AK known as black seed oil. These are things that we've known that will help with recovery, not it's not something that's going to stop you getting it, but it'll help you with recovery. But here's my point. He said very clearly that the conspiracy itself is about lowering your immune system over the years with steroids, with other intentioned pharmaceutical drugs that have been pushed into the market to lower your immune system. And then whatever is out there will have a bigger impact upon your health, thus possibly cull and reduce the actual population. So Rav,
Sukhi, before we go to Rav, can I just ask them on that point? Elon Musk sent these 20,000 plus or 46,000 satellites up into space.
Yeah.
If they are for satellite purposes for things like 5, why was that ever allowed? Or am I just working for the CIA now? And just
ask the question again.
So if we're saying that these satellites and 5 are having effects on health, and this is something that Rav might be able to answer as well, why on earth was Elon Musk allowed to put 40-odd thousand satellites up into space?
There's also that element of, with anything, you've always got two sides. With technology, the advancements of technology are going to have two impacts as well. Like, one of them is that the low gravitation, low orbit satellites, and they're designed to send internet communications to all over the parts of the world. So people in other countries who haven't got internet can have it. That's one element of it. But the other element is that the way they've designed them is a lot cheaper than what NASA would do. Right. There's also this other element that because it's cheaper, the way they've calculated it is going to allow Elon Musk to create further technology which is going to allow them to travel to Mars and other places that they can mine space. So there's a whole element of monetary gain and human progression gain on that side of it as well. And that's the plus point. But then the negative point is that these waves and frequencies and stuff like that will have an effect on the human body to some degree in some way or another. So there's a plus and point. Right. So that's why,
I think that's right. That's why we're seeing an effect. It's about the immunity. So that's why I educate people about what coronavirus, how they can boost their immunity. And I think what Sukhi was saying about the black seed oil, that's something I've been taking for a few years. And when this started, a few of my colleagues actually alerted me to the fact that actually it would help for this. So it's about boosting our immunity, and I think the people who are affected by whatever radiation or the 5G, for me, what I'm trying to say is we need to think that we need to believe that there is an illness that's affecting us, but at the same time we need to be cognizant and aware that there is these conspiracies. So whether it's 5G rollout, whether it's going to impact on our physical health, how it's going to transform our business and entrepreneurship in terms of AI, in terms of vaccines. So these are other things and what Elon Musk is doing. So all these are all integrated together. So we need to be aware of it, but at the same time, we need to take protective measures. So what I advise people, because I've heard a lot of people talking, lots of the groups I'm on about the 5G. So I've educated them and I said, and I've done some research. So if you are concerned about the 5G, then find ways of protecting yourself. So whether it's you reducing the amount of time that you are on your gadgets, you know, because of the electromagnetic waves. So switching your internet off at night, or you know, if you're in a bedroom, ensure that you don't have the electromagnetic waves around you. So all your gadgets out of your room. Then you need to think about also microwave use, you know, whether you're using a microwave or not. Other things like you can get certain stones that can actually, it's called shungite, which you can actually wear that actually protects you. And you can get stickers that you can put on your phone as well. So I've got that on my phone, but I can't show it to you. But you can get stickers that you can actually put on your phone to actually protect yourself. So that's a shungite stone if anyone's interested. And there's stickers that you can get. So I think it's about these conspiracy theories are there, have an open mind. But I can say this virus is real, it's affecting people. And as Sukhi is saying, social distancing, social disengagement is going to carry on in for a long time, and lockdown. And we will need to take protective measures to prevent ourselves from getting infected.
Thank you for that.
And also on that side, Gary, there's also a space race going on. There's also the next level is going to be defense mechanisms of countries as well. So there's a whole bunch of things going on, because America has just launched what they call the sixth military, which is the space military, right? And it's like, why are they creating a space military for? Because they want to get into space, but they want to be able to defend their country. So there's all sorts of that kind of stuff going on as well.
Rav, over to you.
And then Marcus.
So I think I probably have very similar information to Seshali actually. But but I have heard there is another type of 5G, and you're going to hear about like the Chinese 5G and what's it, Tesla's 5G. But I'm not talking about Tesla in terms of the company Tesla, but the inventor Tesla had his own sort of technology. And there's something that Trump once said, and it was taking the mickey out of on one of his tweets, and it's COV FIFI, which actually stands for cobalt, iron, and vanadium, something like that. So he even put a clue, and that is the formula for a substance which I believe can protect us from 5G, and it's a different type of 5G. And there's also 6G as well, which is based on crystals, and that's only now being talked about. So there's a lot of stuff I think with conspiracies that we only hear half the information, and a lot of it is misinformation. So you know, you go down the wrong path. But in terms of the immune system, so the emotions and your mental health will have a massive impact on your immune system. And one of the things, including myself, which I've had to work with, is anger, because I don't want to be taking vaccines. So, but what that came inside me, anger, and you don't want anger, because anger itself will reduce my own immune system. So we have to work through these emotions, and so that's something else that's coming in. But I've also got that spiritual, you know, faith as well. Whatever is happening for the right, and I think that in itself, just having that hope, even false hope, internally can change your immune system for the better. So when people say, oh, this person's got false hope, you know, you're giving him false hope, but actually, whether the hope is false or not, what's happening internally, it's been shown in that person's body, is the immune system does improve. So any type of hope, any type of optimism will be good, will be beneficial. The other thing I wanted to come to was something I studied and learned and practiced for a while, is something called energy medicine, and taught by Donna Eden, and where she talks about our meridians and our aura and our heart, the resonance, because our heart resonance is so powerful. It's more powerful than these electromagnetic waves, and that's what people need to remember. So I can't remember the numbers, but just doing something like a heart coherence meditation, which that organization Heart Math they promote, but just putting your hand here and just breathing through the heart will, I'll show you next time, but I have a ring called an aura ring, which measures my heart rate variability. And doing that meditation, it was the only meditation that I saw a rise in my heart rate variability, and that's a good thing. So that's the ability for my heart to handle stress or different situations. So it can handle a lot more fluctuations in heart rate easier. So meditation, things like that can help. But coming back to Donna Eden, so I remember back in 2006, 2007, she said at that time, she goes, these electromagnetic radiation signals are not going away. In fact, they're going to increase. And you can use shungite and things like that. But one of the things she teaches is things like movements you get from Qigong, Tai Chi, because those things will, whether you believe in it or not, but we have an electromagnetic field around us, and it does build it up. So those sort of traditional exercises and techniques can build your it'll help your immune system. So there is some positivity, and that's actually what my YouTube, that's what I've been trying to get out of my mind and put it on paper. So this is what I'm going to be sharing with the YouTube viewers, I guess. So there is some positivity, and that's really what I want to be communicating, because there's enough. I've seen so many of these conspiracy theories that it's like, it's good knowledge, but it can take you down. And then
it does. And
after that, you want to be lifted up with some good news. How can we, what's the worst case scenario, and how can we deal with that? So that's where my mind is right now. So
thanks, Rav. I'm just gonna. You've got Stan's got his hand up. Just 2 seconds. Stan's got his hand up. Did you put your hand up to ask something?
Yeah, can I? Because a lot of my friends and very known influencers in Slovakia have same issue, and they try to stop the 5G and conspiracy. So I have to think and get. I try to get base of the issues and all this. And I found this way that. Amazing is about conspiracy, because in conspiracy you are, as you mentioned, it's always in the stress, and I found evidence in meta analysis where there is evidence when you are permanently in stress. It's your body is preparing for fighting, but it's always lower amount of blood in your frontal cortex of the logic. So it's a funny way that it's you don't have enough blood for thinking the logical for a long time if you reading conspiracy things like that. Another way is like 4G and 5G, and it seems like Android 8. It's 4G. It means 4 generation, 5 generation. It's same thing like Android 8, Android 9. There is new features, and there is absolutely nothing to care about it. But another thing is 5G adding new frequencies, because up to 4G there is just up to 6 gigahertz, and with 5G it's 6 gigahertz to 100 gigahertz. And that's the study about evidence of influencing on the bloody cells and all these things. And I found in meta-analysis there is any blocks of the bloody cells and healthy issues with this, but there needs to be more independent studies by European Union, not by telco industries, because it's not independent anymore. So right now they found only heating issues and with high radiation. But anyway, right now the electromagnetism is using as a healthy, like magnets for healthy issue for healing knees and some parts of bodies. And Paracelsus in the 5th centuries, they said that difference between cure and poisonous is only in the dose. So we need to set up that dose what is very safety for us and help us, and something what is not. Because in 5G in Slovak Republic, I checked all frequencies, and TV towers right now in Slovakia use 50,000 watts of energy in every city. And it was, when the starting in 1980s, it was 1 million watts of energies radiated in every city when they start color television. Right now, in 5G, they can use, because there is norm for it, and they use 10 watts of energy. So they are going to lower and lower in the future. So right now, I don't see the problems with the 5G, because they don't need to use the highest frequency. What is problem, as I mentioned, because these highest frequencies like 10, 100 gigahertz, it didn't pass through walls. So telecom operators don't care about these frequencies, because they pass not through your walls. So in the city is not usable anywhere.
Dan,
Yes.
just something to add to that. Thank you very much. It's really, really helpful. By the way, you can all reach out to each other. Use the chat, yeah? One thing I want to remind yourself, that actually that means that's the external environment frequencies that have changed, that have reduced the wattage usage because of LED usage. But I'm just going to share with yourself, LEDs themselves have a frequency of resonance within themselves. So then the television that you see back there is an LED, produces even more radioactive frequency in my house based upon the LED frequency. So you won't be able to manage that out there. The use of tubes, which were television technology way back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, that's reduced the consumption and the frequency externally. But inside your house, your frequency's in it. So everything's subjective to that process, just letting you know. One thing I just want to read out to everybody, just clearly. Do you know what? This is really cool, isn't it? I think our conspiracy call is going to be really powerful, don't you think? We've got some good heads here. Who's up for it? Put a thumbs up, go into the reaction, and put it in the group and say you're interested. We'll create a conversation on this one. We'll invite anybody who wants to be involved. That's it. Thank you very much. Put you in there. So
Sukhi, I think we have to be careful that we don't do it online, otherwise the CIA will be on it.
Or we'll be kicked out like David I.
Yeah, I didn't bite them. It's great. You know what? It's a wonderful conversation. If you want, I'll put it on Facebook so everybody can get it as well.
Everybody will go.
Can we just introduce Warren?
Just 2 seconds, 1 second, just to close this conversation on there, just to give everybody a conversation about environment and connection to cancers, okay? So President Panel Analysis Environmental Cancer Impact Report from way back in May 2010, May the 6th, 2010. Search it, find it, do what you want to do. I've got it, so I can read it to you. Sorry? Okay, so basically, just to give you an example, way back in 2010, 2010, they read out, it's a 200-page annual report, but in 2010 was a very, very specific one. So this is the best of the world, of the highest individuals are out there who are trying to, not WHO, but they're connected with America, US, and they basically created an annual report, and the authors say that, wow, much of the effects of exposure to unknown carcinogens are environmental, here's the point, not ingested, environmental, things around you. Now, the evidence that there is known to us right now, and I'm reading it, this is a very poor picture I've taken, suggests that the true burden of environmentally induced cancer has been grossly underestimated. Just to be very clear, that means very clearly they're telling us that way back in 2010, they already knew that a gross underestimation of external. This is 2010. This is before all the heavy 4G masts and then the 5G coming up soon. They grossly underestimated the actual effects of external radiation on the body. This is the general report. The government knows this, and all the World WHO knows it as well. Listen, guys, I've got to say something. We've got 5 minutes left, but wow, this has been brilliant. I want everybody to understand one thing, that you'll actually listen to what all the other people have been saying. Marcus, I wanted you to say something, but we're running short on time. I might let it run out. Warren, welcome. Thank you very much for being here, and it's been a pleasure having you here as well, and hope you found something there. I want everybody to understand something. Thanks for all the updates in the chat for everybody with conversation. If anybody wants any Kalvanji, black seed oil, etc., but with a very high level of potency from Germany, let me know. I've got contact. Rav, you should be letting me know. I'll supply them to yourself at trade in boxes of 10. I've had 200 bottles imported already, and there's another 500 coming. This is something that you should all be taking on a daily basis. Dr. Seshni, she said there clearly that she's been taking it for years. I will advise to everybody to introduce selenium in the conversation, re-corrected by Marcus. Thank you very much. I would advise everybody to reduce their sugar, refined sugar intake immediately, as this reduces your immune system. This is just quick low-hanging fruits, guys. That's all I'm trying to ask you to do. Reduce your electronic content. Switch the phones away. Take them. I've been telling this for years. Take the electronics out of your bedrooms when they're charging. Leave them downstairs to charge. If you're not haven't got the liberty or the luxury of having it upstairs, downstairs, then just select another room and put them in there to charge. I have an absolute ban in my kids. They cannot have a phone near their head, and they cannot charge. They cannot charge it near their head. If they're in the room, they must have the desk, which is far end, if that's the worst thing possible. What I'm about to start to do is to start to create a charging area in my home where all the extensions and cables will be sitting there for charging, so the kids can all go downstairs, leave the phone on charge, and go upstairs without the phones being there. So think about that principle as well. Have access to using reducing your brown sugar. Replace it with stevia, which we've been saying, but it must be natural stevia, not owned by Coca-Cola, because their stevia is not natural. So there is I have access to verified 500 milligram tablets, which you need 2 tablets of. You should all be taking 1 gram minimum of this very highly potent purity of Kalvanji, which is known as black seed oil, aka black onion seed. If you want to get hold of any, let me know.
It's also known as as Nigella seeds.
Perfect.
So the black onion seeds. So I usually cook with that as well.
Yes, put it into your food, put it in your cooking. Thank you for this, Ashni. So basically, get in touch with me directly. You all have my WhatsApp number. Just text me directly if you want any of them, and I will arrange it with whoever's got them physically dispatching them.
Yeah.
If you want it on trade and you want more than 12 bottles, then let me know as well. Then I'll advise you of the trade price as well. I love it. Use metal copper wallpapers. It's very, very relevant. Basically on the externals. Now, you know, if you think about contactless, that means your phone is emitting something that's contactless constantly, okay? So you can go to somebody, press double click and touch and contact. Apple, and I'm going to be blunt about this, is the safest phone out there when it comes to contactless, done the research already. So basically they won't let it work unless they have something physically activating the actual contactless system. But other cheaper Android phones, I'll tell you now, have been known to be pumping the signal of contactless 24/7. If it's near you. So that means it could be in your pocket and it's activating contactless on your phone. That means there is a radiation frequency on there. Okay, so this has been an amazing call, and I hope it's been truly helpful. Has anybody got any last words? We're in the last few minutes, and literally we've got a minute, and Gary's stickler for keeping things on time. I think we've got about 2 to 3 minutes. Anybody want to say anything quickly? No long conversation, just quickly hello, highs.
I just think it's brilliant.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thanks, Trina.
So much.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.